At Great Wolf Lodge, there's adventure for the whole family. You and your pack can splash away in the indoor water park where it's always 84 degrees. There's a massive wave pool, a lazy river, and tons of water slides for your pack to enjoy together. And the fun doesn't stop there. Get ready to explore and play at adventure-packed attractions from Magi Quest, a live-action game that takes place throughout the lodge, to the Northern Lights Arcade. There's also a bunch of great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. And the best part? With 22 lodges across the country, you're always only a short drive away from adventure. So bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Book your stay today at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
There's a moment right before the house fills up when everything goes still. The coffee's already brewed. The counters are wiped down. The cake pans are out, lined up like soldiers waiting for orders. And I'm standing there in the middle of my kitchen, just breathing, because I know what's coming. I know that in a few hours, every chair in this house is going to be filled. Every voice is going to be layered over another voice. Every room is going to have its own little story happening inside of it. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, all that beautiful, chaotic, messy noise, my son Gavin is going to turn 19. 19. I said it out loud to myself that morning, just once, just to hear how it sounded. And I swear to you, I could still feel the weight of him as a baby in my arms. I could still hear that tiny laugh. I could still see those little shoes by the back door. 19 years, gone in a blink. And here I was, about to watch a room full of people I love walk through my front door, to celebrate a young man who used to fit in the crook of my arm. So I took that breath. I held it for just a second longer than I needed to. And I whispered something to myself that I say every time a day like this arrives. Don't miss it, Maya. Don't you dare miss a single second of it. Because I've learned something over the years. The big days don't warn you before they become the memories. They just happen. And if you're busy, if you're distracted, if you're running from one thing to the next, they'll slip right past you. And you'll wake up one day wishing you had stood still for just a little bit longer. So I stood still that morning, and I let the house wake up around me, one quiet minute at a time, because I knew. As soon as that first knock came at the door, it was all going to start. And I wouldn't get that quiet back until the last car pulled out of the driveway, probably close to midnight, maybe later. And I was ready. I was so ready. But I wanted this minute first. Just this one. Just for me. Hey everyone, and welcome back to We Are the Hansons. I'm Maya, and this is my favorite part of my week. The part where I get to sit down with you and tell a story from our life. Not a polished one, not a perfect one, a real one. The kind with laughter in the kitchen and kids running through the living room, and a husband who takes dinner way too seriously, and a house that somehow keeps getting fuller every year. Today's story is a special one because today I want to take you inside one of the biggest nights we've had in a long time, Gavin's 19th birthday. And I'm not going to lie to you, I almost didn't know how to put this one into words because some nights don't feel like nights. They feel like markers, little flags you plant in the ground of your life that say, remember this, remember all of it. So, grab your coffee, settle in, and let me take you there. It started early. It always starts early in this house. I don't think I've had a quiet morning in 2 decades. But that's fine with me, because quiet was never really the dream. The dream was this: a house that hums, a kitchen that smells like something good, kids coming in and out, and a life that feels full all the way to the edges. So when I walked into the kitchen that morning, coffee in hand, slippers still on, I didn't rush. I just stood there for a minute. I looked at the light coming in through the window. I looked at the chairs, the ones that would be pulled away from the table later. I looked at the empty counter, and I thought, This is the last quiet moment this room is going to have for the next 12 hours. Better enjoy it. Jeremy was already up. Of course he was. That man moves through the kitchen like he was born in one. He had ingredients lined up, cutting boards out. A big pot sitting on the stove, just waiting. Beef stroganoff tonight, he said. And the way he said it, you would have thought he was announcing a state dinner. But that's Jeremy. When he cooks for the family, it's not just cooking. It's a performance. It's love on a plate. It's the one way he's always known how to say, I've got you. All of you. I'll feed you. I'll take care of you. And I'll do it with everything I've got. I kissed him on the cheek and grabbed another cup of coffee. Big day, I said. Big day, he said back. And that was it. No big speech, no checklist. Just two people who've done this dance 100 times before, getting ready to do it again. Because when you've raised a family this size, you learn something. You learn that the magic isn't in the planning. The magic is in the showing up. A little while later, Maddie came in. And just like that, I had my partner in crime for the day. You have to understand something about Maddie. That girl has been my shadow in the kitchen for far as long as I can remember. When she was little, she would drag her chair up to the counter just to see what I was doing. She'd stick her fingers in the batter. She'd wear more flour than she ever actually used. And I'd pretend to be annoyed. But the truth was, those were some of my favorite mornings. Now here she was, taller than me, smarter than me some days, pulling down mixing bowls like she'd done it her whole life. Because she has. Cherry chocolate, she asked, and I smiled. Cherry chocolate. Because that's the cake. That's Gavin's favorite cake. The one he's asked for every year since he was old enough to have an opinion. Some years it's been a little lopsided. Some years the frostings melted before we got the candles on. One year, and I'll never forget this, the dog got into it before the party even started. I remember that year so clearly. The whole family walked into the kitchen at the same time to find this dog standing on a chair he had pulled out himself, his nose covered in cherry filling, looking at us like we were the ones who had done something wrong. Gavin laughed so hard he couldn't breathe. He didn't even care about the cake. He just kept pointing at the dog. Maddie and I had to drive to the store and start over, 2 hours before the party. And somehow, that cake turned out to be one of the best we've ever made. That's kind of how this family works. The moments that are supposed to ruin something usually end up making it better. But every year, no matter what, it's always been cherry chocolate cake. It's his. And something about that tradition, something about a kid picking the same cake year after year, it tells you something. It tells you they've found their anchor. They've found the thing that says, this is mine. This is home. And Maddie and I worked side by side. She stirred the batter. She talked about something funny that happened at work. I laughed. And I looked at her for just a second too long because I caught myself remembering. I remember her first day of kindergarten. I remember her tiny hand in mine. I remembered the way she used to sing to herself when she thought no one was listening. And here she was, growing, standing in my kitchen, helping me make her brother's birthday cake. I didn't say anything out loud. I just smiled to myself, and I kept listening. Because there are some things you don't need to say. You just tuck them into your corner of your heart and keep them forever. The first knock at the door came around late afternoon, and my heart did this little thing it does. You know that feeling? When someone you love is about to walk through the door? I wiped my hands on my apron and went to answer it. And there he was. Gavin with Riley right next to him. And I just stood there for a half a second, taking him in. Because listen, there's something about seeing your child with someone they love. It hits different. It's not just that they're growing up. It's that they're becoming someone outside of you. Someone who chooses and is chosen. Riley had that smile, the one that says, I'm glad to be here. Not just for the party, not just to be polite, but because she loves him. And I loved her a little more for it. Gavin walked in, and I swear to you, he looked older. Not in a way I can fully explain. Not because of anything he said, but in the way he carried himself. The way he said hello. The way he looked around the house, like he was really seeing it. Like he was noticing things he hadn't noticed before. 19. There it was, written all over him. I hugged him. I held on a little longer than I probably needed to. And he let me. That's the thing about my boys. They let me. They're big now. They're grown. They could brush me off. They could roll their eyes. They could give me that half hug that teenagers give their moms in public. But they don't. They hug me back every single time. And I don't know how I got that lucky. I really don't. Riley gave me a hug too and told me the house smelled incredible. I told her to tell Jeremy that. He'd love to hear it. And she went and told him. Of course she did. That's the kind of person she is. Then came Colin, right on their heels. Colin's always the one that shows up with that energy, that big grin, that voice that fills up a room before his whole body even clears the doorway. He gave me a hug, made some joke about how the house was going to be destroyed by the end of the night, and headed straight for Jeremy in the kitchen. Those two, they have their own language. And then came the ones I'd been waiting for, Logan, Aaliyah, and little Remedy. I'm just going to tell you something right now. When a grandbaby walks into the room, everything changes. It doesn't matter how loud the house is. It doesn't matter how many conversations are already happening. The second that little person comes through the door, the air shifts. Voices get softer. People reach out. Smiles land on faces that didn't even know they needed it. Remedy came in wrapped in her little outfit, big eyes, taking everything in, and Jeremy came out of the kitchen so fast you'd think somebody had called his name 3 times. He scooped her right up, and for a second, everything stopped. I watched him hold her. That big, rough, working man with flour on his hands and a dish towel over his shoulder holding that little girl who looks just like his son used to. And I thought to myself, this is it. This is the whole thing. This is why we do any of it. Because somewhere along the way, the kids you raised become parents, and the babies they bring into the world become the reason the whole thing keeps going. That's the quiet miracle nobody prepares you for. You think raising them is the finish line. You think the goal is getting them through it. But then one day, you're standing in your kitchen, watching your husband hold your granddaughter, while your son watches both of them with that look on his face. And you realize, there is no finish line. It just keeps expanding. It just keeps getting bigger. It just keeps filling up with more love than you thought was possible. And Remedy, this little girl, she's going to grow up knowing this. She's going to know what it feels like to walk into a room full of people who are happy just to see her face. She's going to know what love sounds like when it's coming from every corner at once. And that's the inheritance that matters. Not money, not stuff. That. After Logan and Aaliyah, the door didn't really stop. Keenan came in next, with Sophie right beside him. Keenan's our funnier one. He watches, he listens, he takes it all in before he steps fully into the noise. But once he's there, he's there. Sophie slid right into the mix, laughing at something one of the cousins said, immediately comfortable. That's a gift too, you know? When someone your child loves walks into your house and just fits, no awkwardness. No trying to find her footing. Just in. Just home. Tristan came in a few minutes later. And the minute he and Keenan were in the same room, I could hear them. The teasing, the back and forth, the brother thing. It's not soft. It's not always sweet. Sometimes it sounds like they're ready to fight, but it's love. It's the kind of love that was forged over years of sharing bedrooms and fighting over the last piece of pizza and defending each other at school when nobody else would. Gavin got pulled right into the middle of it. And there they were, 3 of our boys, laughing, giving each other a hard time. And somewhere in the middle of it all, I heard Gavin laugh that deep laugh, the one that sounds like his dad's. And I had to turn my face away for a second, because I'm not going to cry in my own kitchen. At least not this early in the night. Then the girls started showing up in full force. Maddie was already here. But then Annalyn came around the corner, and Torin, each of them carrying their own personality like a signature. Torin with that sharp sense of humor that'll cut you down before you even see it coming. Annalyn with that warmth that just wraps around the room. Maddie holding it all together like she does. They found each other in the living room, huddled up on the couch, talking about things I wasn't supposed to hear. And that's fine. That's their moment. That's theirs. I keep moving through the house, checking on Jeremy, checking on the kids, making sure the little ones weren't about to break something. And still, people kept coming. Cousin Logan with Kate, Connor with Haley, Matthew, Sammy, Cammie, Gigi, and the two little ones running around like they've been given permission to own the entire house for the evening. And of course, his aunt, walking in with that smile. That same smile that she'd had for 40 years. Some people carry family with them. They just do. You see them, and you remember every family gathering you've ever been to. Every birthday, every holiday, every scraped knee, every tear wiped away. Yep, that's it. Every corner of the house had life in it now. Every single corner. The living room had its own conversation happening. The kitchen had another. The hallway had a group of cousins laughing about who knows what. The front porch had the boys stepping outside to take a breath. The dining room had the little ones coloring on something they shouldn't have been coloring on. And I stood in the doorway for just a second. Just a second. And I took it all in. Because here's the truth nobody really tells you when you're young and raising babies. You think the full houses are exhausting ones? You think the loud ones are the hard ones? You think you'll be relieved when things calm down someday? But you won't be. Because this right here, this is what you're working for the whole time. You were working for a full house. You were working for the day when all the kids you used to carry around would walk through the door on their own 2 feet, with the people they love, with babies of their own. This is the prize. This is it. And most people, when they finally get here, they're too tired to see it. But I saw it that night. I saw every single face, and I promised myself I wouldn't forget a single one. Meanwhile, back in the kitchen, Jeremy was deep in it. I mean, deep in it. If you've never watched your husband cook for 20 plus people, like he's preparing a feast for royalty, you haven't lived. The stroganoff was on. The noodles were going. Something was in the oven that I hadn't even asked about. He was moving from pot to oven to counter without ever once looking rushed. That's the thing about Jeremy. He doesn't cook fast. He cooks with intention. Every stir, every pinch of something, every taste, every adjustment, and the smell. Oh my goodness, the smell. Rich, warm, savory. The kind of smell that gets into the carpet and stays there for 2 days. The kind of smell that makes people walk into the kitchen just to ask how long. And every single time somebody asked, he'd smile. Because he was loving it. He was in his element. People kept drifting in to steal little tastes. A bite off a spoon. That's incredible, Dad. Jeremy, what did you put in this? Can I take some of this home? And he just kept stirring, nodding, laughing a little under his breath. Because for him, this wasn't a chore. This was the whole point. Feeding his family is his love language. Always has been. And that night, he was speaking it fluently. When dinner finally hit the table, I wish you could have seen it. I really do. Plates being passed, chairs being pulled closer, people standing up, sitting down, reaching over each other. Somebody asking for the salt. Somebody else asking why they always have to pass it. Kids at the table arguing about something small and important to them. Remedy on someone's lap, grinning. The big boys at one end, the girls at the other. Jeremy standing for half of it because he refused to sit down until everyone had food. It was loud. Oh my goodness, it was loud. But it was the best kind of loud. The kind of loud that tells you no one is a stranger in this room. The kind of loud that says, we are comfortable here. We belong here. We're home. Somebody knocked over a glass of water. Nobody panicked. 3 people reached for napkins at the same time. One of the little ones thought it was the funniest thing she'd ever seen in her whole life, and started laughing so hard she almost fell out of her chair, which made everybody else start laughing, which is exactly the way dinner in this house goes. Something goes wrong and we just absorb it. We turn it into part of the story. Jeremy finally sat down for about 30 seconds before he was back up checking on somebody's plate. I told him to sit. He didn't listen. He never does. Because in his head, as long as one person at the table doesn't have something they need, dinner isn't done. I looked over at Gavin, and he was just soaking it in. He was laughing at something Colin said, listening to his cousin tell a story, helping one of the little ones with a napkin. He looked happy, really happy. Not the kind of happy you fake for a birthday. The deep kind. The kind that settles in your chest. I remember at one point, he just stopped. For maybe 5 seconds. He didn't eat. He didn't talk. He just looked around the table, and I watched him do it. I know what that look is, because I've made that same look, standing in this house 100 times. It's the look of someone realizing, these people, this right here, this is mine. This is who loves me. And for a mom, that's everything. That's the whole job. When dinner started winding down, I knew it was time. I caught Maddie's eye across the table. She nodded. We moved. Lights started going down around the house. Jeremy cleared a spot on the table. Maddie and I carried out the cake. Cherry chocolate. 19 candles. Glowing. Flickering. The whole room went quiet for just a second when it came around the corner, and then somebody started singing. I'm not even sure who started it first, but once it started, everybody joined in. And I'm going to be honest with you, nobody was in tune. Nobody was in time. Half the people were laughing while they sang. The little ones were half a verse behind. Somebody was singing the wrong words on purpose, and it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Because you don't need harmony when you've got this much love in one room. I watched Gavin the whole time. I couldn't help it. I watched my son, my second boy, my kid who used to hide behind my legs when strangers came over, standing in front of a cake his mom and sister made, surrounded by people who have known him his whole life. And for a second, I saw all of him at once. I saw the baby. I saw the toddler with the messy hair. I saw the little boy who used to hand me dandelions like they were roses. I saw the kid on the first day of school. I saw the teenager who figured out how to make people laugh. I saw the young man standing there now, quiet, steady, surrounded. All of them. All at once, stacked up inside that one face. That's what a birthday really is, when you're the mom. It's not 1 year. It's every year. It's every version of that kid, all existing in the same breath. And right before he blew out the candles, he closed his eyes, just for a second, longer than most people do. And I don't know what he wished for. I never asked. I'm not going to. Because some wishes are meant to stay between a boy and his birthday. But whatever he wished for that night, I hope he feels it someday. I hope it comes true in the biggest way. Because if anyone deserves it, it's him. He blew out the candles. The room erupted. Clapping, cheering, somebody yelling, "Speech, speech," in the back. He just laughed and shook his head. That's Gavin. Never needed the spotlight. But he had it anyway. After the cake, the night just kind of softened. You know what I mean? The peak had happened. The big moment had landed. And now, everyone was just together. Just being. The older kids drifted out to the porch. The girls curled up on the couch with their plates. Jeremy finally sat down. Actually sat down with a full plate and a glass of something cold. I watched him lean back for the first time in hours. He looked at me from across the room, and he gave me that little smile. The one that only I know. The one that says, "We did it, another one." And I smiled back, because yeah, we did. The little kids were starting to wear out. One of them was asleep on the floor with a pillow under her head. Another one was fighting sleep with everything she had. Remedy was ready to go. The big boys were outside talking. And I'll tell you something. I don't know what they were talking about. I don't need to, because whatever it was theirs. Brothers talking on the porch at night after a birthday dinner is something sacred. You don't interrupt that. You just let it happen. You just know that somewhere out there, in the dark, your sons are connecting, and that's enough. I glanced out the window at one point. I could see them standing there, Gavin in the middle, a couple of the others around him. Someone said something I couldn't hear, and Gavin threw his head back laughing, that full body laugh, the one that tells you he's okay, the one that tells you he's happy, the one that tells you this day landed exactly the way it was supposed to. And I stepped away from the window, because that wasn't my moment to watch. It was his. The girls inside were laughing harder now, deep laughs, crying laughs. Somebody was telling a story. Somebody else was adding details to it. Annalyn had that look on her face like she was about to drop a one-liner that was going to wreck everybody. And sure enough, she did. The whole room lost it. I laughed until my cheeks hurt. And for a second, I caught myself thinking, I'm going to remember this night for the rest of my life. Not because anything huge happened. Not because we did anything crazy. But because it was full. It was so full. Full of people. Full of love. Full of noise. Full of life. One by one, people started heading home. That's the bittersweet part of a night like this. The leaving. Hugs at the door. Drive safe. Love you. Text me when you get home. Don't forget your plate. We'll see you Sunday. And each time the door closed, the house got a little quieter, a little emptier, a little softer, until finally, it was just the handful that stay until the end. The ones who aren't in any hurry. The ones who linger because they don't want the night to be over either. Jeremy and I started cleaning up, slowly, not in a rush, just moving through the kitchen, wiping counters, stacking plates, picking up a stray cup here, a crumbled napkin there, and in the middle of all of it, I stopped. I stopped right there in the kitchen, and I looked around. The counters were sticky. There were chairs out of place. Somebody had left their sweater on the back of the chair. There was cake frosting on the floor, a plate of leftover stroganoff on the stove. The trash was overflowing, and I just stood there, and I smiled. Because that mess, that beautiful, sticky, exhausting, cluttered mess, was the proof. The proof that this house held a party tonight. The proof that it held a lot of people. The proof that they came. The proof that they stayed. The proof that my boy turned 19 and he was loved. Deeply. Completely. By everyone in that room. Okay, before I wrap this up, I gotta do something for you. Because you know I can't end this episode without it. The cherry chocolate cake. The cake. The one Gavin's asked for every year. I'm going to give it to you the way my family does it. Nothing fancy, just real. You're going to need 1 box of chocolate cake mix. Yes, 1 box. Don't give me that look. I've been making cakes for 20 plus years, and sometimes a box is exactly right. Make them according to the directions on the back. Add 1 can of cherry pie filling into the batter. Pour them into the pan. Bake it. Let it cool completely. Now while it's cooling, take a can of cherry pie filling and set it on the counter next to it. Open it up. And while you're at it, open your whipped frosting. When the cake is cool, spread a good layer of whipped frosting on top. Then spoon cherry pie filling on top of that. Let it sit for a little while. Don't be neat. This cake isn't supposed to be neat. It's supposed to look like it was made with love. Let it pool. Let it drip a little down the sides if you want to. That's the whole beauty of it. Stick some candles in it. Dim the lights. Call the people you love into the room. And watch somebody's face light up when they see it. That's the recipe. It's not complicated. It never was. The best ones never are. And listen, if yours comes out a little crooked, if the frosting slides off the side, if the cherry filling drips onto the counter and you have to wipe it up, that's fine. That's better than fine. Because in this house, we don't make Pinterest cakes. We make cakes that taste like childhood. We make cakes that get remembered. We make cakes that end up in the family photo album 20 years from now, with somebody's little face behind them, covered in frosting. That's what you're making. You're not making dessert. You're making a memory. So don't stress about it looking perfect. Just make it with love. The people you're feeding will taste it, I promise. Jeremy and I finally made it to the couch that night. Late. Very late. The house was quiet. The dishwasher was humming. The lights were low. And I just leaned into him. Didn't say a word. He didn't either. We just sat there, tired, full, together. And somewhere in that quiet, I thought about my boy. I thought about my baby I held 19 years ago. I thought about the toddler who used to run through the living room with no pants on. I thought about the little boy who lost his first tooth. I thought about the kid who fell off his bike and got right back on. I thought about the teenager who was crazier than I expected him to be. I thought about the young man who walked through my door tonight, holding hands with someone he loves. And I thought, you don't raise them for the milestones. You raise them for the room. You raise them for the day when the room is full. You raise them for the moment when every chair is taken, every plate is out, every voice is layered, and they look around and realize, this is mine. This is my family. This is where I belong. You raise them for that. Everything else is just a road to it. I kissed Jeremy on the top of his forehead, and I told him thank you for all of it, for the dinner, for the life we built, for saying yes to every one of those kids, for showing up every single time. He didn't say anything. He just squeezed my hand, and that was enough, because some nights, words would only get in the way. Some nights, you just sit with the person you love, in a house that held everything it was supposed to hold, and you let the quiet say it for you. That's what we did. For a long, long time, just sat there and let the night settle into the walls. So Gavin, if you ever hear this someday, when you're older, or when your kids are older, or when you're standing in your own kitchen, watching your own household of people you love, I want you to remember this night, not because anything big happened, but because everyone came. Everyone showed up. Everyone loved you. And that's the kind of wealth nobody can take from you, ever. Happy 19th birthday, my boy. And to everyone listening, thank you for being here with me tonight. Thank you for letting me bring you into our little corner of the world. If tonight's episode meant something to you, share it with someone you love. Call your kid. Bake a cake. Fill your table. Because the nights you think are ordinary are almost always the ones you'll remember the longest. I'm Maya Hansen, and this is We Are the Hansons. I'll see you next time.